February 21st, 1916. The sky above northeastern France turned black, not from nightfall, but from artillery shells. At 7:15 in the morning, German guns opened fire on the French fortress region of Verdun. Within minutes, the earth itself began to shake. More than 1,000 artillery pieces fired at once. Forests exploded into splinters. Entire villages vanished beneath fire and smoke. Hills that had stood for centuries were erased in hours. For 10 straight hours, the bombardment never stopped. Soldiers said the ground moved like waves beneath their feet. Some believed the world itself was ending. This was not just another battle of World War I. It was the beginning of a plan designed to destroy an entire nation's will to fight. Germany did not simply want to capture territory. Their objective was far darker. German Chief of Staff Erich von Falkenhayn believed France could be defeated without invading Paris. Instead, he planned to force France into a battle it could never abandon. His idea was terrifyingly simple. Attack a place so important that France would defend it no matter the cost, and then destroy everything that came to save it. Verdun was chosen. For centuries, Verdun had guarded the road to Paris. Its ring of forts symbolized French pride and resistance. Losing it would be unthinkable. Falkenhayn's goal was to, in his own words, bleed France white. And soon, the killing began. After the massive bombardment, German infantry advanced through a landscape that no longer looked like Earth. Trees burned without branches, craters stretched endlessly across the ground, bodies lay buried beneath mud and shattered stone. German commanders expected quick victory. Instead, survivors emerged from underground shelters and ruined trenches. The French were still there, wounded, exhausted, terrified, but fighting. Within days, disaster struck France. Fort Douaumont, the strongest fortress protecting Verdun, fell to German troops almost by accident. A small German patrol entered through an unguarded opening and captured the massive fort with barely any resistance. News of the loss shocked the French nation. If Verdun fell, morale across France might collapse. A new commander was appointed, General Philippe Pétain. His order was simple: hold Verdun, no retreat. Pétain understood that survival depended on one thing: movement. Soldiers and supplies had to reach the battlefield continuously. He organized a lifeline known as the Sacred Way. Day and night, trucks traveled a single road toward Verdun. Every few seconds, another vehicle arrived carrying ammunition, food, or fresh troops. The road never closed, even under enemy fire. Nearly the entire French army would rotate through Verdun during the battle. And a phrase began spreading through the trenches: "They shall not pass." Verdun quickly became something humanity had never seen before: industrialized slaughter on an unimaginable scale. Artillery ruled everything. An estimated 60 million shells were fired during the battle. There was no silence, no safe moment. Explosions came day and night without warning. Soldiers lived inside mud mixed with blood and metal fragments. Trenches collapsed constantly. Poison gas drifted across the battlefield. Flamethrowers turned defensive positions into walls of fire. Many soldiers never even saw the enemy. Death came from the sky. Shell shock spread rapidly. Men shook uncontrollably, unable to speak after days of bombardment. Some forgot their own names. Others stared silently, broken by fear and exhaustion. Rain filled shell craters with water, turning them into drowning traps. Wounded soldiers sometimes slipped beneath the surface and disappeared forever. Every meter of land cost thousands of lives. A hill gained one day might be lost the next. Armies fought endlessly for terrain that barely mattered strategically, yet neither side could stop. Germany continued attacking. France counterattacked again and again. Verdun became a machine that consumed human lives faster than either nation expected. Months passed, and the psychological toll grew unbearable. Letters home described men sleeping beside corpses because there was nowhere else to rest. Food arrived covered in dirt and gunpowder. Water was scarce. Fear became constant. Some soldiers secretly hoped for minor wounds just to escape the battlefield. Others refused evacuation, unwilling to abandon their comrades. Verdun was no longer just a military objective. It became a symbol of national survival. If France abandoned Verdun, the nation's spirit might break. If Germany failed, their entire strategy would collapse. Neither side could afford to stop fighting. But by the summer of 1916, the battle began to change. Farther north, British and French forces launched a massive offensive along the Somme River. Germany was forced to move troops away from Verdun to face the new threat. The relentless pressure weakened. France seized the moment. Fresh troops arrived. Massive artillery preparations began. Slowly, the French shifted from defense to attack. In October 1916, French forces launched a powerful counteroffensive. Supported by overwhelming artillery fire, they advanced through the shattered battlefield. Fort Douaumont, lost months earlier, was retaken. Soon after, Fort Vaux returned to French control. German forces began withdrawing. After nearly 10 months of fighting, the front lines stood almost exactly where they had started. Nothing had changed geographically, but everything had changed for the men who fought there. In December 1916, after 300 days of continuous combat, the Battle of Verdun finally ended. The cost was staggering. Around 300,000 soldiers were dead. More than 700,000 were wounded or missing. Entire villages disappeared permanently from maps. Forests were reduced to wastelands of mud and metal. Even today, parts of the battlefield remain too dangerous to live on because unexploded shells still lie buried underground. Verdun became known as the meat grinder. It did not decide World War I, but it revealed something terrifying about modern warfare. Industrial nations could endure unimaginable losses without surrendering. For France, Verdun became a symbol not of victory, but endurance. Memorials now stand where explosions once shook the earth. Rows of graves stretch across fields that were once battlefields. Former enemies lie side by side. French and German soldiers united in death. The Battle of Verdun leaves behind a haunting lesson. Sometimes wars continue not because victory is near, but because defeat is impossible to accept. For 300 days, men fought in conditions few humans could survive. They held lines that barely moved. They sacrificed everything for ground that would eventually fall silent again. History remembers the generals and strategies, but Verdun belongs to the soldiers who endured 300 days of hell and refused to break.